Hello, everybody. My name is Michael Pytel with VASS, and you're on the Lead to Cash in Action podcast series. I'm joined by my co-host, Sheldon. Sheldon, welcome back.
Hello, everybody. My name is Sheldon Lipschitz, Senior Director of Solution Engineering at VASS.
And today we are joined by Jeff Thurston from SAP. Jeff, thank you so much for being here. Could you please give an introduction to the audience?
Thanks a lot. Appreciate that. First, I'd like to thank VASS for having me here. Great partner over the last number of years. Always ahead on innovation with our solutions, as well as bringing our successful customers to market. So again, my name is Jeff Thurston. I am our North American head of ecosystem for our customer experience line of business, and happy to be here today.
That's awesome. We're looking forward today from drawing from your experience, Jeff. Sheldon and I, we get to talk to a lot of smart people. We love talking about this lead to cash process. We're geeks for cloud ERP and cloud sales and service. We enjoy those solutions. We work around them every day, and we like talking about them. But you're involved on the front end of this equation typically. Like we're practitioners, we're on the ground, we're implementing, we're deploying, but you get to talk to customers before they start their implementation phase. And I'm wondering, it's specific to that lead to cash business process, what are the common pain points or failures or breakdowns in processes you hear about customers when they come to you looking for a solution?
Yeah, I think it all centers around a lot up front from a manual perspective, and a lot of the manual tasks that are involved in that overall lead to cash, where there are some breakdowns if it's in Excel or other areas. I also think, if you're looking at the processes inside that larger process and the systems that are needed to complete those processes, like an order management system or some other areas, if you're going from the different steps to steps, that's when it tends to break down communication between the business and IT and how we can bring this all together. So we hear a lot about that as they're moving along and having to implement the full end-to-end lead to cash process.
Got it. Sheldon, same question to you. You get on project site. The customers bought their licenses. What pain points are they highlighting in those first discovery sessions? What are the most common ones that you hear?
I mean, it's really where Jeff was what Jeff was saying, right? It's really between these different connections between how the process goes, right? For instance, if you look at the sales to cash process or to the lead to cash process, you notice that there might be different types of systems involved, right? We have Sales Cloud, we have CPQ, we have solutions like S/4HANA Cloud, right? And there are different pieces where different types of users need to interact in each of these different systems. A good example is an approval process, right? So when you look at these processes and how the approvals need to happen and who needs to be involved in those approvals, that's where certain things break down, and you need to design something that really works well so that it doesn't create that broken process. So it's simplified, if you will.
Yeah, you and I have theorized about this a lot. Is it possible to have a touchless order from end to end, right? Sales guy enters the lead, rings the gong in the office. It turns into a sales order magically, and it's shipped, and no one touched it. Right? That's the nirvana that we all want to get to. Talking about pain points, and I'm an ERP guy, and Sheldon's our CX guy, our sales and service guy. We talk about sales order entry primarily being EDI based, e-commerce based, manual sales order entry, just swivel chair entry. Looking at 2026, looking at the future, what other ways do you guys see customers entering in sales orders? Is this going to change? Is it still going to be EDI and e-commerce? That's the primary driver. Or what other ways are sales orders going to be created, in your opinion?
Yeah, so I think EDI is here to stay for right now, but we are building out capabilities across AI. With some Joule, we have some other automated capabilities that can help that overall process. So as the complexity of some of our customers continue from a B2B perspective, a lot of things will start happening inside that AI motion with shopping assistants, self-service agents, being able to help them support those simpler tasks. As things get more complicated, then we'll continue to move forward. But I think it's moving in that full AI approach right now.
Full AI approach, yeah. AI create like someone going into their microphone, create a sales order for customer XYZ. 6 products by next Tuesday.
And you bring that up, and we are having some. We talk about service agents and sales agents, and some of our ecosystems are building solutions integrated into our, Sales Cloud and Service Cloud to be able to do some of that voice recognition and, having a conversation with your phone that would then hit the back end and update those systems for you. So a lot of cool stuff going on.
Now, you're on project a lot, Sheldon, on premise here, CRM deployments, and then moving into cloud deployments. Well, when talking about order entry, are you encouraging customers to create orders in Sales and Service Cloud and have that flow back into ERP, or are you encouraging customers to just enter orders directly into ERP? I mean, I'm just curious as the non-practitioner here for this.
Definitely, we try to encourage them to use the different CX solutions to place the orders through them. For instance, SAP Commerce, right? We're not going to tell them, hey, put a bunch of items in your cart, and then now generate a document, give it to a sales guy, and now place it in the SAP backend, right? We're going to actually enable the solution for it to place the order directly from SAP Commerce into that backend. And the same thing goes from solutions like Sales Cloud, or for instance, when it comes to Service Cloud, we create directly from a ticket, we create a service order, right? It doesn't have to necessarily be sales orders all the time. It could be sales orders, service orders. It could be a contract. When we look at CPQ solutions, the CPQ solution could create a contract. Now, of course, there are certain features and functions that SAP delivers out of the box, but that doesn't mean that we're not able to integrate it to do other things, right? So we have done certain situations where from the CPQ solution, or even from Sales Cloud, where we basically go ahead and create a sales contract in the back end, and then that sales contract is taken into consideration in SAP Commerce when the customer is going through the list of products and purchasing them. It's using the pricing agreed in that sales contract.
Right.
Okay? So these are things that we definitely encourage to do the implementation in a way so that these transactions are originated from the CX solutions.
Yeah, that's fantastic. And talking about these CX solutions, Jeff, I think some of our audience members may or may not know, but depending on their cloud ERP license, they might already own some CX, right? Or there's a potential for them to get access to these CX licenses quickly.
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah, so we do offer some bundles with our ERP cloud alongside our Sales Cloud, so they have an opportunity to really test out our solution, able to see the value up front, the integrated approach, and it's a quick time to value as well. The way they're delivering it, the way our partners like yourselves are able to go in, implement it. These are implementations that can come up really quick and provide the customer an opportunity to see value right away at a limited perspective, and then from there being able to grow it across the organization.
We talked about that a little bit earlier off camera, but when just the audience knows, we don't just sit down. We do a little bit of homework here. But in part of our homework, we were talking about when's the right time to deploy CX? Is it with my S4 implementation, after my S4, alongside phase 2A or 1A or 1B? I'll start with you, Jeff, just because you're working with customers on the front end. You're working with a lot of customers that are purchasing these solutions. What's your best advice right now for those customers? Implement alongside or just after?
Yeah, and I think it's a little bit of both sides of it. I would say all of the above, but it depends on the customer situation, the customer's time frames, how that, we spoke about this a little too, how that ERP implementation is going on. What we're really looking, as I said earlier, is the ability for the customer to see that quicker time to value at a small level and then grow that implementation. So if we can either tag along right after, what we want to do is have that conversation with the customer and start planning that early on, even in the sales conversation around ERP, right? Letting them know the opportunity and what value we're bringing across our broader portfolio when we look at ERP plus our CX offerings. And it's even across our different lines of businesses with our digital supply chain or spend management, BTP, adding that into the equation. So looking at it as more of a holistic suite approach and best of suite, and then being able to lay out your approach and the integrated business processes between ERP and CX. A customer is really able to see value alongside that implementation or right after.
Yep.
And it's not a 2-year process or 1-year process. They're able to actually see that value a lot quicker than that with the CX plus ERP.
Yeah, I mean, Sheldon, question to you now is, you're a practitioner, you're out in field deploying this alongside. We know ERP is the master of the business partner data, material data. And so Sales and Service Cloud can be a fast follow, but I'm hoping you could highlight to the listener here, how fast of a follow can this be?
So a Sales Cloud implementation, for instance, we recently did an implementation for one of our customers. It took us about 12 to, I mean, if we include the hypercare, 14 weeks, right? So it's really not a implementation like a S4 implementation, which could take in some cases years, right? This is months, right? So these are very fast implementations because the solutions already have a lot of capabilities, and what you're really trying to do is trying to look at the different business processes that the customer has and adapt the solution. And when I say adapt, I'm not saying you're going to develop it, but you're going to configure it in order to adapt that business process that this customer has. Now, going back to the question that you asked to Jeff, right, and to add a little bit about that, when you look at an implementation of S4, right, like I said, typically these are multi-year implementations, right? And when you look at the solutions when it comes to CX, these are, multi-month implementations, right? So it's completely different. So when a customer comes to us and say, "Oh, we want to do a big bang," right? And you're like, "Okay, how do I fit now a multi-month implementation?" Let's say worst case scenario, for instance, for us is SAP Commerce. An SAP Commerce, complex SAP Commerce implementation could easily take 6 months, right? And how do you fit a 6-month implementation into a 1.5 year, 2-year implementation? And this is where what Jeff was saying is, well, we sit down with the customer and we try to figure out when is the right time to come in, right? We're not going to start at the beginning with S4 because there's a lot of dependencies, which we would need to be able to, we will have to wait in order to start working properly if we start at the same time. So a good example is one of our customers. We're doing a big bang. We are, as part of that big bang, they started in 2024 the S4 implementation. And what we did is that at the tail end of 2024, we brought in our architect for CX. We started understanding exactly what was going to be designed on the S4 side, so we don't lose track of what's happening. And then based on that, then we started planning as to what is the right time for the CX solutions to come in. And this customer is not only implementing one CX solution, they're basically implementing all of the solutions within CX. So different CX solutions take different amount of time. So we started with commerce, was the first solution that we started implementing. And then a few months later, we started with the other solutions. And that way it allowed us to create a process where we're able to go live in a big bang, right? So there's different ways to achieve this. And it's important to do planning when we look at these large implementations of S4 versus the smaller implementations of CX.
Yeah, I agree. Jeff, for the audience members who may not know the word CX, we've been throwing it around. Can you just give us a quick refresher on what is considered part of that CX portfolio?
Got it. So CX is our customer experience line of business portfolio inside of SAP. And within that is a number of sub-solutions, all centered around customer engagement. So we have our commerce cloud solution. We have our sales and service cloud solutions. We have our CX AI toolkit, which is supporting all of that. And we also have SAP Amarsis for our marketing solution. There's other solutions part of the portfolio as well that go into sales performance management. Our retail offerings sit within our CX portfolio. So we have a broad range of solutions that cross our CX portfolio. Not to mention also when we take a look at the data side of things, our CDP, our customer data platform, sits in there. And now as our strategy continues to evolve, and we talk about data and applications and everything, Business Data Cloud is also becoming a part of that, where ERP is integrated into Business Data Cloud. Now CX is integrated into that. BTP is integrated into that. So it provides our customers with a single source of the truth around all of the data, which is becoming extremely important now, as you know,
I like
in
that
the
you brought up
market.
the Business Data Cloud, because I was going to bring up that next, but I wanted to ask you the question. You're talking to customers about this integrated business suite from sales and service and ERP. What should their expectations be for visibility? What's the new level of visibility that they're going to gain from this solution as opposed to implementing HubSpot or implementing Salesforce? What's this level of visibility that they haven't seen before?
So I think it starts off with we're going, SAP. So it's a best of suite approach, a fully integrated, and who can do that better than SAP? A fully integrated approach across our different lines of businesses. So again, it's not just ERP in the suite with customer experience. We're looking at it from a suite approach with all of our lines of businesses integrated into one overall suite approach. And that's how we're positioning it to our customers. And then it's on, when we have those conversations with customers, it is actually having that conversation around how does these different lines of business and solutions within that fit into what Sheldon was saying, kind of that overall approach and that big bang approach, and you guys work with our digital supply team as well. So that may be included as well, right? And how does that all fit in? And with that integrated suite, that's where they're really starting to see that additional value. And we've done studies on, this and the, quicker time to value, return on investment. It's tremendous compared to having, different integrated solutions just from a cost perspective as well, right? For these customers. So
when I think about this visibility across these different solutions, in my mind, I'm thinking of 10 years ago, the sales team, the sales CRM team was separate, right? They're in a separate room at a separate table. They're not talking to the ERP team, and their reporting was their reporting and my reporting was mine, meaning the sales report showed lead to opportunity to closed opportunity, but it didn't directly link me to the sales order. So I could have a single report that says what leads turned into actual cash, right? There was theoretical cash, meaning it was closed won in sales, but it didn't link all the way back into the sales order. And so when I think about BDC, I think about sales and service and ERP. I think about that visibility completely, so I can see that originating lead and tie that back to that closed delivered sales order.
yeah, and I think just on that, right, just from an overall business process perspective as well, right? We talk about that integrated suite, but just that integrated business process approach as well, where we're able to connect that back office, front office, and give, the business users, IT, everybody involved in that process, a full view across.
Now, today's topic is modernizing this lead to cash process. And modernizing means, yes, deploying Sales Cloud, Service Cloud. You brought up something, though, CX AI Toolkit, which SAP has already renamed to Premium AI. We joke about it.
Under Joule.
Renaming is what it is. So what, for the listener that's on the phone, they may not have heard of this. What are the one or two things that you think is really cool about that CX AI Toolkit?
Yeah, they're building a number of capabilities within that to help the end users ultimately and improve their experiences while using our solutions, right? So we'll have certain capabilities in there, certain agents that are helping, from a retail shopping perspective to service, from a sales perspective. So just being, really cool capabilities inside there. And there are, the number of use cases continue to increase each quarter, right? Centered inside of that toolkit, that Joule Premium toolkit. Yeah.
So Sheldon, question to you now: a modern sales platform, a modern ERP is open, right? Number one, can you talk about where do customers figure about what does open mean to you, and how have you seen that proven in what SAP's done? And then part two of that question is developing extensions, right? Adding on to Sales and Service Cloud and using SAP Build. What has been your experience so far and your thoughts on that product suite?
So when you look at SAP is building an open application. I mean, right now, if you compare how the different solutions from SAP you had before, where SAP gave you the ability to develop within the solution, right?
Right.
Versus the solutions that you have today, where SAP is really trying to focus on something that they call clean core, right? There is definitely some restrictions as to what you can do. However, the way that SAP has built their products is in a way that it is able to have events allowed within the application, so that through those events you're able to do what we call side-by-side development, which is where SAP Build comes in, right? So it's not, I mean, when you look at these different solutions, it's not like SAP is now prohibiting you to do any type of development. No, SAP is saying, hey, look, we want to be able to deliver new functionality quick and fast to you. And in order for us to be able to do that, we need to make sure that we have our core clean, so that it's very easy for us to come up with new features and functions. And because we know that you want to perform any enhancements that are specific to your company, that's where they created this event-based, if you will, architecture that allows you to create side-by-side development using SAP Build, where you're able to create different types of applications that complement the solutions that SAP already delivers.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So when we look at, for instance, Sales Cloud and V2 and Service Cloud in particular, they are built that way, right? They have been built in a way that it allows us to create these applications or implement these applications with these integrated frameworks that allow us to communicate with custom-built solutions through SAP Build. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, it does. And you and I, and it was a little bit of a plant. You and I got an opportunity recently to work together on build process automation in SAP Build, and we got to do something with a tool called Document AI. How do you see, is business process automation a workflow builder that it sits on top? Is it better than? Does it replace the workflow tools that are in Sales Cloud? Do you think it makes it better because it's outside of it? What are your thoughts on business process automation as it sits alongside these CX solutions?
Look, I mean, definitely the solutions within Sales Cloud and Service Cloud have their own workflow processes, not necessarily automated processes, but workflow processes. The business process automation tool within SAP Build, takes it to a next level, because it doesn't only operate with the information that is within the Sales or Service Cloud solutions, but it is also able to access information outside of these solutions, right? So you're able to initiate a approval process, if you will, or automate a particular notification of approval processes, which you don't necessarily have the capability of doing it completely within the Sales Cloud solutions. A good example is sometimes when we sell these different Sales Cloud solutions, not everybody necessarily has the licenses to have access to those applications, right? And there might be a certain situation where you escalate this to a specific level where that person that you're escalating it to does not have access to the tool. You would need to buy a license for that, right? So what you're able to do is you're able to trigger through the different events within the Sales Cloud or Service Cloud solution an event that calls your business process automation, performs the necessary steps, and then notifies different people that might not have access to the tool to review the information, approve it, and then notify the salesperson or the agent that they're good to move on.
And I think one thing for the listeners to remember is when Sheldon's saying notify, when we say notify, that could be an email. That's a very old school way to do it. But it could also be a Microsoft Teams message. Yes. It could be a Slack message. Right? We have all these different modern integrations, and BTP gives us this. Next question's coming to you, Jeff, about BTP. But before I do, just to share a quick story, actually coming from Sheldon and I's colleagues in Germany. where they're using Service Cloud. A customer had a Service Cloud, and it was a shared service center where the end customer might email in an invoice dispute and say, hey, I got this invoice. I'd like to dispute this charge. Well, that invoice and that email came into Service Cloud, but with Document AI, we were able to take the attachment, pass it to an LLM, allow it to interpret the document, and then allow essentially CXAI Toolkit to solution a response to that customer's email that then a human in the loop would approve. Thereby taking that research time away from the human being, allow the system to do that, auto draft a response to that invoice dispute, still having a human in the loop, keeping us safe. So, Jeff, you're out there in the sales process with customers. You're seeing the implementations ahead of me, Sheldon and I. Are there BTP solutions or areas that you've been impressed with, usages of BTP that you've seen in the market that you're like, wow, that's a really cool implementation of this X, Y, and Z thing?
Yeah, and I think from a BTP perspective, it's leveraging the ability to leverage that to build extensions. As Sheldon said, right, keep the core clean, build extensions with BTP, helping build some, if it's, service agents to, take away some of that mundane manual tasks, take away some of the Excel work that may be still using. They half joke around saying, what's the number one tool used right now, and it's still email and Excel to, resolve issues or track orders, and the amount of manual entry in that, right? So the ability to leverage BTP alongside some of our other AI tools is providing some of those, mundane activities that, people don't want to do anymore, and, it's not exciting work. So they're opening up, leveraging it, opportunities for these people to grow within their organizations and actually do some more productive activities. So taking on more of those complex issues and leaving the ability to build extensions and applications on top of the core.
Yeah, as I'm working with customers, I'm looking for those swivel chair activities where people are alt tabbing between Excel and SAP, or maybe an email in SAP or another application in SAP, and thinking, all right, how can I use this AI solutions to maybe replace this? Again, our topic today, we talked about pain points of not having a modern lead to cash process. We have process breakdowns where one process jumps systems and there's no communication back and forth. And that modern lead to cash process is supported by Sales Cloud and Service Cloud. Jeff, I'm wondering if you could maybe talk a little bit about how does BDC fit into this equation? Naturally, there's integration between Sales Cloud and Cloud ERP. And so we can see data kind of passing back and forth. What is BDC used for? Why would a customer need BDC in this new world?
Yep. So good question. I know we touched on it a little bit earlier. And that integration we talk about the integrations between the applications, but then the integrations of ERP to BDC and CX solutions and our broader portfolio of solutions into BDC is providing customers that one single source of the truth and centered around the data. And then they're able to take that data and build applications, insight applications on top of that. So adding a tremendous amount of value, and we'll continue to build those out in the year to come, building those applications and those insights on top of that data that's being pulled from our ERP information, our customer experience information, and then putting it in there, and then building those applications on top, leveraging, working with some of our close partners in there to build those algorithms and those algorithms into the ultimate applications that the end user is able to get value from, and bring that back to the business.
Yeah.
All centered around data.
Yes, it's all about good data and having data accessible. I'm personally excited this year for Joule for Analytics Cloud to come out. They have this Just Ask feature. SAP has this feature where I can ask for sales by territory by product, and Joule can respond now with analytical information, not just transactional information, which I'm super excited about. Sheldon, you've been working on CRM projects, Sales and Service Cloud projects. Um, Business Data Cloud is brand new for us, for you and I, as we're implementing, and we see it on customers' bombs. We see it there. You and I haven't got hands-on with it a lot yet. But I want to maybe, if you could just think about or theorize, when you were on a Sales and Service Cloud project before and a customer wanted to do reporting, you probably had to move the data into HANA, model the data, and write a report over that. How do you think this BDC world changes that experience?
I mean, I think it's going to definitely change the way that we look at reporting, because right now with the BDC or Business Data Cloud having the ability to also have the analytics cloud component as part of it, it's going to be very easy to extract the data from all of these different types of CX solutions. Not only Sales Cloud, but any of the different CX solutions. SAP is also going to have the ability through BDC to obtain data not only from SAP solutions but non-SAP solutions, and they've created this framework that allows us to kind of like pull in the data from multiple sources, right? And now having the ability to do that in a very simple way, especially with S4, I do know that there is a very simple way to be able to extract the data. I know that they also have that for several of the CX solutions, right? Now we're going to be able to have all the information in one place. It's going to be simpler to extract. It's not going to be as complex as it was before with BI, right? So I'm definitely excited to look into how easy it's going to be able to build reports when it comes to looking at the holistic data that we have when it comes to a lead to cash scenario, and be able to create reports that are specific to a particular territory, or to understand really how is the churn rate or the conversion rates that we have when it comes to, okay, going down to, how much have we invoiced for that particular lead that we initiated 3, 4, 5 months ago, right? So that's going to be very exciting to see.
It will be exciting to see it come, because now that we have the data, again, it's all integrated. Now we can write some really cool KPI reports that I think customers haven't seen before. So looking at these, I believe I know the answer is yes, Jeff, to this next question. It's, does SAP's new cloud ERP and Sales and Service Cloud, is it going to help me adopt AI faster? I know the answer is yes, but I don't know if you want to talk about specifically some of this content that SAP was providing us, these out of the box Joule skills now. I mean, by having a modern cloud ERP and a modern Sales and Service Cloud, our customers are going to be able to deploy AI faster.
Yeah, I mean, short answer is yes, right? And one thing on the previous section was a great point when we talk about SAP, non-SAP data, being able to bring that all in together. That was a great point there. But the ability to leverage the AI components within our solutions, it's all about the customer experience, right? It all comes down to being able to leverage that application as you would any other app on your phone or any device you have. Being able to leverage it, if you could use it as easy as, say, Instagram or, Netflix. Go on, it's self-learning. It'll help you self-learn. It'll help you, the ease of using that application. Just not only from an implementation perspective, it'll become easier, but also from an adoption perspective. Getting people on board to either make a change or go to a new tool to leverage. I think that's a big component of it as well. And, at the end of the day, those users, you want your users from a business perspective, IT perspective, to be happy. And the ability to infuse AI in both, the implementation side of things, and then having them, the ease of use. It's a tremendous asset that we're able to provide across our suite.
Yeah, I think SAP Joule specifically. I love I don't know who created this term, but it's called domain specific LLM. That is effectively what Joule is. Joule knows about SAP transactions, apps, data. It's domain specific, and it's an enabler for our business users. Because after all, right now, I know you agree with me, Sheldon, on this topic. Everybody's already using AI on the personal side, and they're probably using it to write emails for work. I use it to help create presentations. Everybody's using shadow AI in these organizations. SAP's making it available. One point I like to highlight for our listeners, though, is that Joule Base is available to every SAP customer. So Joule, as part of Sales and Service Cloud, is being released this quarter. Joule for S4HANA SAP ERP Cloud, private and public, is available, and that's called Joule Base. And that's available to every SAP customer and supporting our end users in the SAP UI. I'd also like to highlight to all the listeners that one thing, Jeff, I don't know, do you hear customers getting excited about this? Because I feel like they should be. I can access Joule from Microsoft Teams.
Yeah, 100%. The different area opportunities to leverage the tool, it's top on the list of how we're going out there.
And a lot of
promoting
customers
it
don't believe me
and
when I say
getting
it's
excited.
included. They say, "Are you sure they're not charging for this?" We did have Sheldon and I had a customer want actually a statement from our prior guest Ian that said SAP's never going to charge for this. But as it stands right now, Joule and Copilot can communicate, which is tremendous. It's amazing. Sheldon and I in our previous podcast talked about there are use cases for using Joule and Microsoft Teams that replace whole apps we might have built. Building a mobile app for a salesperson to check inventory and order status. That was a real world app I would build that now is a chatbot in Microsoft Teams. But I want to talk about getting to these solutions because listeners on this podcast, probably SAP ERP customer, not yet on private cloud, or their private cloud, maybe considering going public cloud, but they haven't looked at or are thinking or just starting to think about Sales and Service Cloud. What does the project team look like, Sheldon, on a let's just say Sales Cloud implementation, not service? Because I know not all implementations are the same size. It's tough to put in a t-shirt. But what does that project team look like? Is it how many developers do I have as a ratio? Like, what does this project team look like?
So we recently finished implementation for one of our customers. It was 12-week implementation. And what ended up happening is that we did not have any developers. I mean, other than, the integration, if you want to call it, we don't call the integration developer a developer, right? For us, it's an integration consultant that is well-versed in the integration suite. But when you look at the core team to implement Sales Cloud, we had an architect, we had a business analyst, right? And then from that team of a business analyst and an architect, that was pretty much our team in order to build a solution, right?
Got it.
Now, we've had other implementations where when we go to our customer, they definitely have, I would say, special scenarios or like their own flavor of how they do business. And that's where, we would assess, is this something that needs to really be developed? Is it something that we can kind of like achieve within the standard application? And if really a developer is needed, we would go about and build it using SAP Build. And SAP Build has great capabilities. I know that we ran a lab a few weeks ago where we were able to just take an image, right? And with the Joule Builder, right, solution, we were able to feed the image and it generated the app for us, right? So we're seeing less and less the need when it comes to the Sales and Service Cloud solution, especially when it comes to V2, the need to have, a full-time developer throughout the project, because depending on the needs of the customer, that's something that is not necessarily needed depending on what they want to do.
And that's what I'm hoping the listeners today are taking away from our conversation. I don't need an army of people to deploy Sales Cloud and Service Cloud. These are innovation projects that I can embark on that are 12 weeks, 16 weeks from beginning to end. And because it's a shared business SaaS application, because it's in the shared cloud environment, I can deploy very quickly. And by the way, SAP provides these tools to build extensions when I need them. When customers are talking to you, Jeff, about buying these solutions, are they worried about end user adoption? Are they asking you, how do we get her? I'm bought in. I'm the CIO or I'm CFO. I'm going to buy the Sales Cloud. How do I guarantee success? How do I ensure that my end users are going to take this tool and use it? What advice do you give these people about end user adoption and how to approach that?
Yeah, I think, now how our solutions, especially V2, is being built out in our overall portfolio, the user experience is, first class. So we're showing that up front with our solutions and how we're developing our solutions and the initial feedback we're getting from our customers. And then we also have other tools like WalkMe and other offerings that is actually helping the organizations internally grow that adoption inside, from a process perspective, and teaching, them how to real-time leverage the solution. So, I think once they start seeing the solution, start working with the solution, the tremendous amount of great feedback. So the adoption is there. And that's what we're giving them with our new offerings and how they're building them out. Again, especially with V2. So I think as they start to use it, the adoption grows. We have a tremendous amount of success stories out there in how, our customers like Bosch are having their, they have their self-service shopping agent and service agents. So it's on the front end of the customer actually leveraging the solutions and getting what they need, as well as that internal usage from a sales employee inside those customers.
You were talking earlier, Sheldon, about a customer that builds coffee machines, sells coffee. And they had their go live. They're using field service management and other SAP cloud solutions. What? Just curious, what was their approach to end user training and adoption? Was it in app? Was it PowerPoint? Was it videos? Wanted to get some of your experience from the field.
So first of all, that customer already had a Sales Cloud V1 implemented. My understanding, correct me if I'm wrong, Jeff, I think WalkMe is not integrated or available for V1. It's really for V2. So, I mean, we went through a completely different approach, right? Where we basically, first we did trainer sessions, then they created their own material, and we went through the process of making sure that the different types of users get the proper training when it comes to the tool. But again, FSM, for instance, it's a very simple tool to use. It's not like rocket science.
The user
right?
experience matters.
So the user experience is very seamless and it's very easy. Now, when it comes to V1, the same thing. I mean, yes, so you have to train the users as to when they should be creating a ticket or when they should be creating just simply an interaction, because not everything needs to have a field service agent to go and repair something, right? So that type of training of process definitely is needed, but it was not done through a tool like WalkMe, right?
Yeah.
But we, funny enough, before SAP purchased WalkMe a long time ago, we did an implementation of it using Sales Cloud V1, and I have to say it's an amazing tool. I mean, you are able to record your process. And if you're a user and you get stuck in any part of that process and you don't know what's the next step to do, you're able to ask WalkMe, hey, how do I continue completing my, my lead to cash process? What's the next step? And it would guide you through the process of the different types of clicks that you need to perform and what you need to do in each of those. So WalkMe right now, when SAP deploys it with V2, with Sales Cloud V2, it already has a set of processes already predefined, and then you can purchase the most, the advanced option. I'm trying to remember if there's a specific name for it, right? But you're able to purchase the advanced option where you are now able to feed it your own process and your additional information specific to your company's business processes, right?
Mm-hmm.
So SAP already comes with a library of information, and then you're able to add on top of it.
That's fantastic. Yeah, I'd like to point out also to listeners with Joule as part of CXAI Toolkit and the Premium AI solutions, and then future Joule for Sales and Service Cloud, Joule for ERP. We can ground Joule in all of our project documentation. And so now Joule is also an extension of that customer experience, end user adoption, where if I don't know how to do something, I can ask Joule, how do I create an expense? How do I unblock a credit blocked sales order? And it's going to source from my project documentation, then SAP help, and then come back to me. One nice thing about Joule is, as part of its data privacy protection policy from SAP, is it's never going to use the internet. So you can trust the answers. It's going to give a non-answer, or it's going to find the answer and cite the material it sourced. It's not just going to go out on the random internet and try to find information for those end users. So Jeff, we talked today about some pain points. We talked about these new solutions. We're talking about the path, right? How do I get there? What's my project team look like? Is it achievable? How does AI support me? Over the last quarter, right? Everybody on the planet is talking about AI and Claude and ChatGPT, et cetera. When you're sitting down talking to customers about purchasing and moving to these modern solutions, what are they asking you about AI? Are they asking, can it do this? Can it do that? What are some of the scenarios you're hearing out in the field? Because that's why you're here today, right? You get to talk to so many cool customers.
Yeah, I think it starts off as it's setting up the projects, setting them up correctly. What use cases we're going to start with? How do we make them successful? A lot of projects out there have failed. They've kicked off. Where do we start? Right. I think that's a big one too. Where do we start? How do we leverage the tools? How are the tools evolving into use cases that'll help my business? And SAP's done a great job of continually expanding on those use cases, especially in customer experience. So we're able to show firsthand the amount of use cases that we're addressing today, our roadmap, and working with partners like yourself and working with VASS, how we can turn that kind of nervousness around where we're starting, how we're going to do this, how we're going to be successful, how are our employees going to adopt it, and make it a reality, right? So it takes not only what SAP's building out, but working with VASS to actually bring that to reality for our customers.
Yeah. Sheldon, we've theorized this and talked about this in conference rooms and coffee, when we're grabbing coffee or at the water cooler. In your mind, when you're implementing Sales and Service Cloud for customers, is it get the process right, then add in AI, or is AI integrated into that process from the beginning next year? Not talking about in the past, but next year, if you're working on a brand new Sales Cloud project, is it get the manual process working, then add in AI, or is it AI integrated from the beginning?
I would say it's a little bit of both, right? We definitely, for us, it's very important when you're doing an implementation to understand the end-to-end process and understand, what are the different gaps that the solution has when it comes to the needs of that customer, right? And then in addition to that, there's a little bit of us also explaining to the customer, hey, look, these are the different AI capabilities that are already built into the tool. There might be a particular gap that the customer might have that might be addressed either by changing their process or by using some of the different AI capabilities that are already available out of the box. When we, and I think I mentioned this in a previous session where we would basically go ahead, understand that process, educate the customer when it comes to the different types of AI capabilities that are embedded within the tool, and then document, those different types of gaps that they have, and then analyze them to see, okay, is this gap solved with us enabling, dual skills or additional AI capabilities in the future, or is this something that we just need to change a process flow?
Right.
So that's the way that I would say we should be addressing it, regardless of the type of project that you're doing.
Yeah, I mean, for me, when I see the CXAI toolkit and the ability to auto-classify cases as they come in, or allowing AI to classify cases as they come in, to me, it's like, why would you not do that? Why would I manually implement the manual process of classification? Yeah. The level 1 process should be AI does it, and the level 2 is the exceptions. So yeah, I'm excited for next year. I'm super excited for next year for how AI is now going to be a part of our process streams as we're doing these implementations. And it's no longer going to be the bolt-on. It's now going to be the default method by which we're implementing these things. So again, today, our whole episode today was focused on that modern cloud ERP, modern cloud sales platform, and what it can offer us, from a AI adoption, from a visibility, from a performance improvement in transactions in our business. And Sheldon, I just wanted to say thank you for being my co-host again, and thank you to our guest, Jeff. Jeff, before we leave, any other parting thoughts or anything you'd like to share with the listeners before we end today?
No, I'd just like to say, thanks for having me on today. Really appreciate our partnership and looking forward to a great end of the year in 2026.
Yeah, it's going to be exciting. Can't believe we're already talking about 2026, but it's right around the corner. Thank you, listeners. Hope you have a wonderful afternoon.
Thanks for joining.
Thank you.